So I just moved into a new unit right next to a main road, and I haven't figured out my proper audio recording setup yet. So there's gonna be cars in the background, there's gonna be an echo. I apologize. On with the video. Howdy heck and hey my dudes, how are y'all doing? Good. I'm great because people are actually reading my webcomic. Forget Me Not is out now, coming out 2 pages every single week on Webtoons, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the links in the description. But oh my god, people are actually reading it. People are actually liking the story, seeing where it's going. I'm getting real excited, and I figured not necessarily to celebrate, but more so to just kind of put it out there that Forget Me Not is a webcomic and it is out. I thought I'd talk about the main character Kaden a little bit, just so that people can get to know him a little bit more, kind of maybe sympathize with him, maybe hate him, and just, maybe get people to read the comic. I don't know, I just wanted to talk about my son, my precious baby boy, who I love as a character but hate as a person. Alright, let's go, here's more about Kaden. So, obviously, his name is Kaden. No last name, at least no documented last name, but that's not really relevant considering the world that they live in. He's 22 years old as of the start of Forget Me Not, because I actually like to have my characters age a little bit, and he is male. He, him, I guess. I guess he would go by they, them, but he really has fragile masculinity, and so you kind of need to refer to him as a he, him. He's also straight in terms of sexuality, but he's not the kind of straight where, they're comfortable making gay jokes or, being bros and stuff like that. No, he's the kind of straight person that, does not want anyone to even entertain the thought of him potentially being gay, even as a joke. He's straight, okay? He's straight. He ain't playing no games, none of that gay shit. Now, when you initially meet Kaden, I guess you could say he's kind of introverted. I don't know, he's really introspective. He's always thinking to himself, he's always got an opinion on something, but he's usually quite unwilling to share his thoughts or feelings. On top of that, he's quite suspicious of other people, and he's always questioning their motives, whether they're doing something for him, to him, or around him. So that usually makes him stick to himself quite a bit. The only person who I would say he's not automatically suspicious of is probably Siobhan. She's probably the only one that he will let assist or help or even share his opinions to in any way, shape or form. But even then, he tends to look down on her quite a bit, and they butt heads a lot, which is kind of weird considering that they've been friends for 8 years. But when you throw in the world that they're set in, it kind of makes sense that they would butt heads all the time. He's also really terrible at first impressions, at least at the point of his life where you guys meet him in Forget Me Not. He'll come across as cold and kind of strange to most people. He's not completely disconnected from his emotions, actually quite the opposite. He's incredibly emotionally driven. He'll lash out, get upset, angry. He'll even crack a smile and make a joke every now and again, but he always manages to slip back into that cold, emotionless, kind of distant personality that he has. It's not that he doesn't want to show his emotions, it's just that, well, I can't really say because it's a spoiler for the comic, but he's been through quite a bit that makes it hard for him to really feel anything, and when he does manage to feel something, it's not all that great. Much like that one Katy Perry song though, he's hot and then he's cold. When he's not emotionally distant and closed off, he can get very heated. And he gets very vulgar when he's unhappy or things don't go his way, which leads to him being pretty irrational. He'll go from the guy sitting in the corner just kind of watching things unfold to suddenly being the one in the center of the room swearing at everyone for being a fucking dumbass. The best way to describe it is that he just lets how he feels about things sit and fester inside him until he can't contain them anymore and they just kind of explode. That's how Kaden handles his emotions. Which obviously isn't a very healthy way to be, but, people in their teens and early 20s tend to be like that, so moving on. A really big part of Kaden's personality is that everything is always about how it affects him, and this allows him to justify a lot of questionable and downright bad choices he makes. He really struggles looking outside of himself in any capacity, and that inability to look outside himself causes the main conflict of the comic. Kaden fucking despises Haley. Haley will probably be the next character I do a video on because I do really like doing these kind of deep dives into my own characters. But for the sake of Kaden's video, I am going to talk briefly about his history with Haley because it is kind of relevant to how he acts. Kaden and Haley were friends for about 8 years, roughly the same time as Siobhan and Kaden, until Kaden broke it off because of a fight they had where Kaden had suspected that Haley was trying to break him up with his current girlfriend. Big yikes right there. And so the general gist of the story kind of revolves around that argument that they had in the past and whether they can both move on from it or not. You see, Kaden has a bit of a history of refusing to let things go. He moves on from them, sure, but he'll always hold on to any negative emotion caused by any event given in his life. And so when that event comes up again in conversation, so do those negative emotions. It's clear when you see the way Kaden interacts with Haley that he's still fucking livid about everything that happened between them. The argument, the quote-unquote breakup, there's still a lot of negative emotions there, which is kind of what the entire conflict of the comic is based around. Despite having moved on with his life and having a stable, happy, healthy relationship with his girlfriend Callie, there were still a lot of things that he just couldn't forgive Haley for. And like I said, a lot of that resurfaces when Haley enters the picture again. Especially now that Callie is kind of, dead. But back to the point, I always specified that when you meet Kaden, he is like this. And the reason why I specify that is because there's actually a pivotal point in his life that actually completely changes his personality and how he perceives things. And that instance, that snap, that thing that changes him, happens right on page 1 of the comic. It's not really a spoiler at this point. It's literally the first page of the comic. Callie gets bitten and Kaden ends up shooting her in order to spare her from turning into a zombie. That's, again, not a spoiler. Page 1 of the comic, you will see Kaden shooting a woman. That woman is the girlfriend. That's it. I'm sure we can all imagine the emotional trauma that would come with killing your girlfriend and then the one that you had a fight with, kind of because of said girlfriend, re-enters the picture. The chaos in this boy's brain chemistry, oh my god. Nevertheless, his girlfriend Callie was kind of his sense of stability and normalcy, especially when the world kind of turned to shit the way it is now. So when he has to shoot her in the first page, all of that stability is gone. Any sense of normalcy, stability, love, anything, all gone, destroyed. He has nothing anymore. When Kaden had Callie, both before and during the zombie apocalypse, there was a sense of stability, a sense of normalcy, and a sense of love that kept him grounded, that kept him the person that he truly is. Before everything went down, he was funny, he was witty, he was charismatic, he was the kind of person that would give a stranger his jacket in the cold to make sure that they stayed warm. He was the kind of person that always put other people's emotions and feelings before his own. He was incredibly different to the person that he is now. If I put the Kaden with Callie and the Kaden without Callie right next to each other and I didn't give you a visual, I just gave you their personality traits, you would think that I'm talking about two separate people. That's how drastic this change was. And even before he met Callie, he was like this. Even before Callie, he was very caring, very nurturing, and it was really hard for him to do something good for him that he knew would hurt another person. Everyone's emotions always came before his own. And with Callie's stability and normalcy and love and all of those positive things that he got from his relationship with her, it only solidified those character traits. It only solidified how generous he was and how caring and outgoing he was because he still had those things. Even when the world turned to shit and there were zombies, he still had Callie. He still had that support unit. He still had some connection to the normal world that wasn't based on a tragedy. And it's that removal of stability and normalcy and love, all of these elements being removed by his own hand, no less, is partially what turns him into the character that we see in Forget-Me-Not 1. The apathetic, emotionless, well, not really emotionless, emotionally unstable, I guess, selfish, kind of questionable character that he is. It's really important for me to stress that throughout the entire duration of Forget-Me-Not, Kaden is grieving and unsure of what to do. He's highly emotional, volatile, and irrational because he's still processing what he had to do, what he's done in the past. He is unsure of himself. But with that being said, how many of the actions that he takes can be excused or justified by the grief he's going through? That's kind of what I want to explore with his character. I wouldn't call Kaden a protagonist in any sense of the word, aside from, being the character that you follow in the story. Though I wouldn't call him an antagonist either, since that's really up to the reader to decide whether he's a villain or not. I think morally grey is probably the best term for a character like Kaden. His actions are questionable at best, and a downright fucking yikes at worst. But in every single situation, save maybe one, there's always some sort of reasoning that can be understood and somewhat empathized with. Everything he does, he manages to justify to himself, and even if you disagree with this justification, sometimes you can still understand where he's coming from. Kaden was by far one of, if not my favorite character to write ever. And I'm really excited to see what people think of him in part 1 and what people are going to think of him in part 2, because yes, there is a sequel coming. I'm already halfway through the first version of the script. Maybe I'll do an update on his personality when part 2 comes out, although I'll be honest, he doesn't actually change that much. That's kind of the thing with Kaden. He just kind of stays where he is. Change is difficult for Kaden. He doesn't do well with change. But yeah, that's everything I have to say about Kaden and his personality. I'm gonna move on to a quick question. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I posted a little thing where I said you could ask any kind of question you wanted about Kaden and I would answer it in this video. I did get one question. It wasn't actually a personality question. It was more of an artistic question, so I'm kind of excited for that. The question was basically asking about his character design process and why I went with the decisions that I made. So this might be a bit of a long section of the video, but I'll try and keep it really, really short. So in terms of the design process, I have a confession. I'm kind of a massive fucking nerd when it comes to Fire Emblem. It actually comes full circle because the friend that I had an experience with, the experience that made me write Forget Me Not, I'll pop the video in the description. I have a whole video about why I wrote Forget Me Not. But that friend that I mentioned in the story actually introduced me to Fire Emblem. My first game was Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia. I loved it. It was beautiful. And then the second game that I picked up was Fire Emblem Birthright. I have another confession. I'm a big furry. And so I remember I was sitting in a call with this friend that I had this experience with. This is before we had our massive argument and I started writing Forget Me Not. This is when we were still friends. I was sitting in a call with him. I was playing Fire Emblem Birthright and I came across, I think he's an optional character. I don't think you have to get him in order for the story to progress. I'm not sure. Someone who is also a Fire Emblem nerd, fact check me on this. But I came across a Kitsune character who, his name is Kaden. And when you actually look at the design of the character as well, I'll pop it on screen. Yeah, I really, really liked this character. He was the character that I romanced in Fire Emblem Birthright. His whole support chats with the kaleidoscope are just fucking adorable. And on top of that, one of my favorite colors is orange, and his whole orange blue palette, I love him so much. So yeah, when it came to designing Kaden and coming up with an original concept, I took the name of the character. I took the name Kaden and I took the fact that he had orange hair, but Kaden originally looked quite different. I'll pop up a picture if I can find it, but Kaden kind of had more of a surfer, skater bro kind of look to him. I didn't like it. And so I eventually came up with a redesign in quotes for Kaden, where literally I just tied his hair up and changed the color of the jacket thing that he wears. And bam, brand new character, brand new design. I loved him. Now that I look at the Fire Emblem Kaden and see that his like vesty thing is also that kind of shade of blue, maybe I was subconsciously still thinking about this character. I can't say for sure. I just know that blue, orange, complementary colors, bam, it automatically works. I do have quite an interesting story about Kaden's eyes though, because if you actually look at some of the early pictures of Kaden, he doesn't have pink eyes actually. His eyes are blue, a really, really light blue. And it kind of tied the whole look together. He looked fairly, okay, he looked normal, but that's the thing. He looked normal. If you guys know a YouTuber by the name of Lavender Town, I used to watch her quite regularly, not so much anymore. I just kind of occasionally see her on my feed. But something that she does with her style and her characters that I've adopted into my own style and my own characters is that she puts little symbols in the eyes. And I didn't realize that I picked this up from her for a completely different reason. I also love Steven Universe, and this was around the time where, spoiler alert, I guess, it was common knowledge that Steven was Pink Diamond, and we know that the diamonds have that like actual diamond symbol in their eyes. I was seeing a lot of fan art of Steven with Pink Diamond's eyes. This is before we saw him with Pink Diamond's eyes in the show. So it was all speculation, and I saw all this fan art of him with Pink Diamond's eyes, and they would usually portray pink-eyed Steven as a sort of villain, a sort of antagonist, and I was like, oh hey, that kind of works with Kaden's character. And there was a song that I really, really liked at the time and that I still like. It's called Get Me Out by No Resolve, and I kind of used that song to help me solidify Kaden's personality, but every time I pictured Kaden to that song, he had pink diamond eyes. And I don't think I have the chat anymore, but I was talking to my best friend about it, being like, hey, I keep seeing him with these eyes, I keep seeing him with his eyes. And so I did a test drawing of Kaden with the pink eyes, with that low-key crazy look that I kept seeing him with, and I fucking fell in love with it. I thought the pink was close enough to red that it kind of blended in with the orange of his hair, and it really, really stood out against the jacket, and I was like, that is the striking, like, feature, that's the whoa kind of look that Kaden needed. And then, you know, the Steven Universe show went ahead and gave Steven the pink diamond eyes, and I was like, oh boy, now people are going to think I'm copying Steven Universe, which I mean, I guess I kind of did, but you know. A little fun fact is that the fact that Kaden has the diamond in his eyes actually made me kind of change some of the other characters' designs, only slightly, to the card suits, like, you know, playing cards, the card suits. Kaden is diamonds, Haley is clubs. A character in part 2 who I don't want to share just yet is spades, and Siobhan, technically speaking, is hearts because the symbol in her eyes is like half of a heart. So yeah, I'll let you guys figure out why those characters specifically have the playing card suits. That's fun. But yeah, I don't think there's much else I can comment on in terms of Kaden's character design process. I don't normally go through iterations when it comes to a character, so like the most iterations I think I've gone through in terms of character design is I think 3, and those iterations are always very similar to each other because I kind of know right off the bat the general direction that I want to go in, except for Siobhan, but this isn't Siobhan's video. Do you hear that? I can't tell if they're birds or they're bats, but they're losing their fucking minds. I thought they were going to stop, but I guess they're just going to keep going, so I'm going to talk over them so I can hurry up and finish this video. But yeah, I think that's really all I can say about Kaden at this current point in time. This is kind of just a basic video that you have the opportunity to watch, I guess, if you want, just to kind of get a hold of Kaden as a character and as a person before you read the comic, just so that you kind of know the character that you're following. There is a lot more that he goes through in his life, but that's more stuff that you find out as the story progresses rather than stuff that you need to know before reading the story, so I think I'm just going to leave it here. Again, thank you so much to anyone who's read the comic, liked the comic, followed the comic in any way, shape or form. Thank you so much. I can't believe that's finally done. I was working on this for 3 years. It's starting to be released now. I'm feeling real good about it. And if by any chance you haven't read it yet, or you have no idea who I am, or what Forget Me Not is, or this, that, and the other, I will leave links to the comic in the description. I will leave the video explaining why I wrote Forget Me Not and why it is the way it is in the description. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this was helpful in terms of getting to know Kaden as a person. I do kind of want to make more of these for the Forget Me Not characters. There are only 3 characters in Forget Me Not 1, so it won't really be like a series type thing. But once Forget Me Not 2 comes out, I'll start doing videos for those characters. Unless you guys want the videos for those characters before the series comes out, I got no idea. But yeah, I think that's all from me today. You guys know the drill by now. Stay warm, stay cozy, stay toasty. If you sneeze during the video at all, then bless you. And I'll see you in another one. Bye-bye.